3 days later, something impossible happened that changed everything. So Young's repairs had worked perfectly. The Villani ship's engines hummed with steady power, ready to carry Keth and Nira safely home to their people. Nira was completely recovered now, her blue skin bright and healthy again. She moved around the ship with energy and joy that had been missing for months. But the most important changes were not to the alien ship or its crew. Everything had changed for humanity itself. Keth had contacted the Villani Collective and told them the complete story of the human rescue. The response from his people had been immediate and extraordinary. Captain Taemin came the translated voice of the Villani High Council through their long-distance communication system. The collective has made a historic decision that has never been made before. We formally invite humanity to become the first species ever granted full access to our complete archives and all our accumulated knowledge. Taemin stood on the bridge of his old cargo ship, somehow talking directly to the leaders of one of the galaxy's most respected civilizations. Just 2 weeks ago, he had been worried about missing a simple delivery deadline. Now he was making history that would affect all of humanity forever. "We are deeply honored by this invitation," he replied carefully, "but I should mention that my own government is very angry with me right now. I disobeyed direct military orders to help your people. We know about this situation. We have already contacted your Admiral Junwoo and explained everything to him." Taemin blinked in surprise. "You contacted Earth Fleet Command directly?" "Yes, we told them that you were acting under official Villani authority when you rescued Keth and Nira. We also informed them that the Villani Collective has chosen humanity as our preferred partners for all future cooperation and knowledge sharing." On the main viewing screen, Admiral Junwoo's face appeared again, but this time he looked completely stunned rather than angry. His expression showed amazement and disbelief. "Captain Taemin," the Admiral said slowly, "I owe you a sincere apology, and apparently the entire human race owes you a debt that can never be repaid. Sir, the Villani have just transmitted their complete historical archives to Earth Command. Do you have any idea what this means? We now have detailed information about every single alien species in the galaxy, their technologies, their cultures, their military capabilities, their trade routes, their strengths and weaknesses, everything they have ever done." Dr. Heejin whistled softly in amazement. "That's intelligence information worth more than entire space fleets." "It gets much better than that," Admiral Junwoo continued with excitement. "They're also offering to share advanced technology with us. Medical knowledge that could eliminate most human diseases forever, engineering principles that could completely revolutionize space travel, communication systems that work instantly across any distance in the universe." So Young shook her head in disbelief. "All of this because we stopped to help some strangers?" Keth answered from where he stood near the communication console. "Not just because you helped us. Because of how you helped us. You sacrificed your own welfare for complete strangers. You showed moral courage when your superiors ordered you to abandon us. You worked for weeks with no promise of any reward or benefit. Most importantly," added Nira, speaking clearly for the first time in days, "you treated us as equals despite our physical weakness. You never once suggested that we were worthless or not worth saving like every other species did." Admiral Junwoo's expression had changed completely from their angry conversation just days before. "Captain, instead of facing court-martial, you're being promoted to commander. The Iron Resolve is being reassigned as the first human vessel to visit the Villani homeworld. You'll be carrying our first diplomatic team to establish formal relations between our species." Taemin looked at his crew with amazement. "What about the cargo delivery contract we missed?" "The Villani have already paid compensation to the mining companies for the delay, with extra money added for their trouble. They've also offered to purchase cargo space on human ships for their own research missions throughout the galaxy. So we're not going to prison after all." Admiral Junwoo actually smiled for the first time. "Commander, you're going to be remembered in history books forever. The man who elevated humanity's status in the galaxy by showing simple human decency to strangers in need." After the communication ended, Keth and Nira prepared to leave in their fully repaired ship. But before they departed, Keth had one more incredible surprise to share. "Commander, there is something else I must tell you. The Villani Collective has made another decision that has never been made before in galactic history. More good news, I hope? We have voted to designate humanity as the galaxy's official moral arbiters. This is a position that has never existed before, but we believe it is desperately needed." Dong-ho looked confused. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means that when serious disputes arise between species, when difficult moral questions need to be answered, when someone must decide what is right versus what is merely profitable, the entire galaxy will look to humanity for guidance and leadership." So Young laughed with amazement. "They want humans to be the galaxy's conscience?" "In a way, yes. But much more than that. This designation will give humanity significant influence in all galactic politics. Other species will be required to listen respectfully when humans speak about justice and fairness." Dr. Hai-Jin understood the enormous implications immediately. "This completely changes humanity's position in space. We won't just be another new species trying to find our place anymore." "Exactly right. You will be the species that other civilizations respect for your moral courage and compassion. The species that helps the weak instead of ignoring them or exploiting them." As the Vellani ship prepared to depart for their homeworld, Nira sent one final message. "Thank you for showing us that not all beings in the galaxy care only about themselves and their own benefit. We will never forget your incredible kindness." Keth's last words were even more meaningful. "Commander Taemin, you asked why you stopped to help when so many others kept flying past us. I think I know the answer now. You stopped because you are human. And being human means caring about others, even when it costs you greatly." The Vellani ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying 2 healthy survivors home instead of 2 bodies drifting forever in the void of space. That night, as the Iron Resolve headed toward Earth with news that would change everything for humanity, Taemin sat in his cabin thinking about the incredible events of the past few weeks. They had started this journey as a simple cargo crew making routine deliveries to earn money for food and ship repairs. Now they were heroes, ambassadors, and the bridge between humanity and the rest of the galactic community. So Young knocked on his cabin door and entered quietly. "Commander, I've been thinking about what Keth said, about humans being different from other species in the galaxy." "What about it?" "Do you really think we're that different? That other species truly wouldn't have stopped to help dying strangers?" Taemin considered the question seriously. 12 different ships had detected the Vellani distress signal and simply kept going. Alien captains had actually contacted the dying Vellani to mock them for being weak and useless. "Maybe we really are different," he said finally. "Maybe caring about strangers isn't normal behavior in this galaxy. Maybe most species really do only care about strength and profit and their own benefit. And if that's true, then maybe the galaxy desperately needs more beings who think the way humans do." 6 months later, Commander Taemin stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve as it approached the beautiful Vellani homeworld. Behind him, Earth's first diplomatic team prepared for historic meetings that would shape the future. Around him, his crew worked at stations upgraded with advanced Vellani technology that made their old ship faster and more powerful than ever before. In the cargo hold, they carried not just supplies and trade goods, but hope itself. Hope that humanity could help make the galaxy a place where the strong protected the weak instead of ignoring them, where intelligent beings helped each other instead of only caring about themselves. It had all started with a simple choice: answer a distress call or keep flying. One human captain had chosen to stop and help strangers in need. That single choice had changed everything. As they entered orbit around the stunning blue-green Vellani homeworld, Taemin smiled and thought about his grandfather. The old man would have been very proud. The true measure of a person really was what they did when it was difficult and cost them something important. And sometimes doing the right thing didn't just save lives. Sometimes it changed the entire galaxy for the better. 2 weeks into the rescue operation, everything changed completely. Nira was much better now. Dr. Heejin's medical treatments had stopped the dangerous radiation from destroying her body, and the young Vellani was sitting up and talking with her brother again. So Young had made incredible progress repairing the alien ship's engines, using human technology in ways it was never designed to be used. The damaged Vellani vessel was starting to look like it might actually fly again. But their own ship was suffering badly. They had used most of their spare parts and emergency supplies to fix the alien vessel. The Iron Resolve was still working, but just barely. Many of its systems were running on backup power and makeshift repairs. That was when Admiral Jun Woo called from Earth. Taemin sat in his captain's chair as the angry face of the fleet commander appeared on the main communication screen. Admiral Jun Woo was clearly not happy about something. His face was red and his voice was sharp when he spoke. Captain Taman, I want you to explain to me why your ship has been sitting in the same location for 2 full weeks. Your cargo delivery was supposed to happen 5 days ago. Sir, we found a distress situation that required immediate attention and help. A distress situation? What kind of distress situation? Taman chose his words very carefully. 2 alien survivors from an unknown species, sir. Their ship was badly damaged and they were dying. They needed rescue. The Admiral's face grew even more angry. Unknown species. Captain, did you make first contact with aliens without getting authorization from Earth Command? The situation required immediate action, sir. They were dying and had been calling for help for months. That is not your decision to make, Admiral Junwoo shouted. First contact procedures exist for very good reasons. You should have reported this to Fleet Command immediately and waited for proper diplomatic teams to handle the situation. Taman had been expecting this conversation, but it was still difficult. Sir, they had been broadcasting distress signals for 3 months. At least 12 different ships from various species had detected them and ignored their calls for help. If we had followed normal procedures and waited for authorization from Earth, they would have died before help arrived. That is not your responsibility, Captain. Your responsibility is to deliver cargo on schedule and follow direct orders from your superiors. Instead, you have missed your delivery deadline, used unauthorized resources on aliens, and potentially created a serious diplomatic incident with other species. Behind the Admiral on the screen, Tae-min could see other military officers shaking their heads in disapproval and disappointment. Sir, I understand your concerns about procedure, but no buts, Captain. You will abandon this unauthorized rescue operation immediately and proceed directly to your assigned delivery coordinates. The mining colonies are threatening to cancel all their contracts with us because of your delays. Taman could feel his crew watching him from their stations around the bridge. So-young had stopped working on the alien engines to listen. Dr. Hee-jin looked up from where she was teaching Nira to use human medical equipment. Dong-ho had paused, his translation work with Keth to hear what would happen next. I cannot do that, sir. The Admiral's eyes went wide with shock. Excuse me, did you just refuse a direct order? I cannot abandon this rescue operation, sir. These beings will die without our continued help. Captain, that is a direct military order from Fleet Command. You will comply immediately, or you will face court-martial for insubordination. Taemin took a deep breath. He knew his career was about to end. He would probably go to military prison. His crew would lose their jobs and their future because of his decision. Then I will face court-martial, sir. But I will not leave these people to die in space. The communication screen went black as the Admiral angrily cut the connection. The bridge was completely silent for a long moment. Then So-young spoke quietly. Well, that's the end of everything. We're all going to be out of jobs now. Probably, Taemin agreed calmly. Court-martial means prison time for military personnel, Dr. Hyejin added with concern. It's possible. Dong-ho looked at his captain with worry. Sir, we could still change our minds. Leave now and tell Earth Command that the rescue was impossible to complete. Taemin looked at his crew, people who had followed him loyally for years, people who trusted him to make good decisions for all of them. Now his choice had probably destroyed their careers and their futures too. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle back to human space right now. I'll put in the official record that you all tried to talk me out of this decision. Nobody on the bridge moved toward the door. We're staying with you, Captain, So-young said firmly. The others nodded their agreement. Before Tae-min could respond to their loyalty, Keth appeared at the entrance to the bridge. The small alien had been listening to the conversation through Dong-ho's translation device. Captain, I must tell you something very important, Keth said seriously. Something that will completely change how you think about this situation. What do you mean? Keth moved to the center of the bridge, his large, dark eyes looking more serious than they had ever seen him. The Villani are not just simple researchers and record keepers. We are the galaxy's living memory. For thousands of years we have studied and carefully recorded detailed information about every species, every civilization, Every important event that has happened. Okay, Taman said, not sure why this mattered right now. We have been watching your human species since your people first began traveling to the stars. We have detailed records of every human action in space, and we have been completely amazed by what we have seen. Amazed by what? By your kindness to complete strangers. In all our records, humans are the only species that consistently helps others with no expectation of reward or benefit. The only species that will sacrifice their own well-being for beings they do not even know. Dr. Haijin leaned forward with interest. What do you mean, the only species? Every other intelligent race in the galaxy operates by the same simple rules, Keth explained. Help only your own kind. Trade only when it brings profit. Fight only battles you can win. Take whatever you can get for yourself. But humans are completely different from all other species. Keth activated a small device that projected three-dimensional images in the air above him. These pictures are from our historical records. Human rescue teams saving Korath miners from a collapsed asteroid mine. Even though the Korath had refused to trade with humans for years. Human medical ships treating Zentari plague victims for free when they had no money to pay. Human freighter captains sharing their food supplies with Silth refugees who had nothing to offer in return. The images showed humans helping alien after alien, often at great cost to themselves with no reward. Other species throughout the galaxy call humans foolish for this behavior, Keth continued. They say you are weak because you help the helpless. They laugh at you for wasting resources on beings who cannot benefit you. But the Villani Collective has been having serious debates about something for many years. What kind of debates? Tamin asked. Whether to share our greatest and most important secret with any species. Keth projected a new image, ancient ruins on a distant planet covered in strange symbols and filled with mysterious glowing technology. The Villani discovered these ancient ruins 500 years ago. They contain technology far beyond what any current species possesses. Instant communication across any distance in the galaxy, manufacturing systems that can create any object from pure energy, transportation devices that can move ships between different galaxies in moments. So Young's mouth fell open in amazement. Technology like that would change everything in the entire galaxy. Yes, exactly. Which is why the Villani Collective has kept the location secret for all these years. We have been waiting and watching. Waiting for what? Waiting to find a species that would be worthy of such incredible power. Most races would use it for conquest and war. They would enslave the weak and destroy their enemies. They would use it only to make themselves rich and powerful. But we have watched humans for many decades, and we believe your species is completely different. Taman felt the enormous weight of what Keith was saying. You're talking about giving humanity access to technology that could make us the most powerful species in the entire galaxy. Yes. But not because we want you to conquer other species. Because we believe you would use such power to help others instead of hurting them. Keth looked directly at each human on the bridge. Your rescue of Nira and me proves everything we hoped about your species. You had absolutely nothing to gain and everything to lose. You helped us simply because it was the right thing to do. This is exactly what we have been hoping to find for centuries. But I just destroyed my crew's careers, Taman said sadly. We'll probably all go to prison for disobeying orders. Not if the Villani Collective formally endorses humanity as the galaxy's moral guardians, Keth said with a slight smile. Your admiral was angry because he thought you had acted without proper authority. But what if you had been acting under the authority of the most respected knowledge keepers in the galaxy? The inside of the Villani ship was unlike anything the humans had ever seen before. The walls curved smoothly like the inside of a seashell, covered in flowing symbols that seemed to move like water when the light hit them. Everything was built for beings much smaller than humans. Taman had to bend his head down in most places to avoid hitting the ceiling. Keth met them at the airlock door. The alien was about 4 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. His eyes were large and dark, taking up much of his face. His body looked thin and delicate, covered by a simple robe made of soft fabric. When he saw the humans enter his ship, he made a sound like gentle wind chimes ringing, which Dongho's translator device said meant surprise and deep gratitude. You are much larger than we expected from your radio signals. Keth said through the translator. And you came so quickly after we made contact. Most species take many days to decide if we are worth the trouble of helping. Dr. Hyejin was already moving toward where the sick Villani lay. Nira was resting on what appeared to be a bed made of soft flowing fabric and curved metal pieces. She was even smaller than Keth, and her blue skin looked pale and sickly. Dark spots covered her arms and face. Her breathing was quick and shallow, like she was having trouble getting enough air. This is definitely radiation poisoning, Dr. Hyejin said, after running her medical scanner over Nira's body. But it's a type of radiation I've never encountered before. Whatever hit her when their engine exploded, it's slowly destroying her body's cells. Can you help her? Keth asked. His large dark eyes were filled with hope mixed with fear. I might be able to help, but I'll need time to understand her biology and figure out what treatments might work on her species. And I'll need to bring medical equipment from our ship. While Dr. Hyejin examined the sick alien, So Young went to look at the destroyed engine room. The damage was even worse than it had appeared from outside their ship. Twisted metal and melted components filled the entire space. Wires hung loose from the ceiling like dead vines. What exactly happened here? She asked Keth. We were studying strange energy readings from a dead star, Keth explained sadly. Our scientific instruments detected something we had never seen before, a type of energy that seemed to come from nowhere. But when we moved our ship closer to investigate, there was a massive energy pulse that we did not expect. It overloaded all our engines and hit my sister with dangerous radiation. So Young studied the destroyed equipment carefully. Your entire power system is completely ruined. Main engines, backup life support, even your food processing machines. How have you managed to stay alive for 3 whole months? Keth led them to another room where small emergency battery units powered the distress beacon and basic life support systems. We have been carefully rationing everything we have left. Water, food, power, even the air we breathe. We calculated that we could survive for 4 months if no one came to help us. But Nira's radiation sickness changed those calculations. 4 months of slowly dying, Dongho said quietly, his voice full of sympathy. It is the way of our people to accept our fate with dignity, Keth replied calmly. We Villani are not fighters like other species. When death comes for us, we try to meet it peacefully without fear. Taemin could not accept such a hopeless attitude. Well, death is not coming for you today if we have anything to say about it. So Young, can their ship be repaired? So Young looked around the completely destroyed engine room again. It would take many weeks of difficult work, and we would need parts and materials that we don't carry on our ship. Their technology is completely different from anything humans use. But is it possible? Maybe if we can figure out how their alien systems work and find ways to make our human technology work with theirs. She paused and looked serious. But Captain, this would be an enormous job. We would have to take apart systems from our own ship to get the parts we need. We'd use up most of our spare materials and supplies, and we would need to stay here for weeks, maybe even months. Taemin did quick math in his head. Weeks in space would mean missing not just their current cargo delivery, but several other jobs as well. They would lose their contract with the mining company, and probably couldn't get another job for months. The financial cost would be enormous, enough to ruin them completely. What about bringing them back with us to human space? He asked. Their life support systems are failing more each day, Dr. Hyejin called from where she was treating Nira. I don't think she can survive a long trip in her current condition. And even if we could fix their life support, their ship is too badly damaged to fly anywhere. Keth had been listening to this conversation, with his large eyes growing sadder. You should leave us here, he said quietly. We are grateful that you came and spoke with us, but we cannot ask you to sacrifice your lives and your future for ours. Other species have made it very clear that we Villani are not worth such great effort. What do you mean by that? Taemin asked. The Korath military ship that passed by 6 weeks ago. Their captain spoke to us briefly through radio. He said we were weak and useless and that helping us would be a complete waste of valuable resources. The Zentari trading vessel that detected us last week called us the galaxy's greatest failures, and actually laughed at our distress calls before flying away. Dongho's face showed clear anger. They actually said those cruel things to you while you were dying out here? It is what most species throughout the galaxy think about the Villani people. We are not physically strong. We cannot fight in wars or build powerful weapons. We do not mine valuable metals or create expensive things to trade with others. All we do is study the stars and learn about the universe and keep careful records of what we discover. In a galaxy where physical strength and material wealth are the only things that matter, we truly have no value to anyone. So Young had been thinking while they talked. Captain, if we're going to help them, we need to make a decision right now. Every day we wait, Nira gets sicker and their ship becomes harder to repair. Timon looked around at his crew. Dr. Hyjin was already working hard to save the life of an alien she had met only 1 hour ago. So Young was making plans in her head to fix technology she had never seen before. Dongho was learning to communicate with a completely new species and helping them feel less alone. None of them had suggested giving up and leaving. Keth, Taman said firmly, your people may think they have no value, but you are completely wrong about that. Knowledge and learning have tremendous value. Studying the universe and keeping records of discoveries has great worth. And beyond all of that, your lives have value simply because you are alive and intelligent beings. Keth's large dark eyes grew wide with surprise. Your species truly believes this? This human definitely believes it. And I think my crew agrees with me. Taman looked at his team. So Young, start planning how to repair their ship. Use whatever materials and parts you need from our own ship. Dr. Hyjin, do everything you can to save Nira's life. Dongho, I want you to learn as much as possible about Villani culture and technology so we can help them better. Sir, this decision is going to cost us everything, So Young warned him. Our cargo delivery contract, our business reputation, maybe even our ship if we can't pay our bills afterward. I understand the cost. And Earth Command will be very angry that we made first contact with aliens without proper authorization. Dongho added, I know that too. And there's no guarantee that we can actually save them, Dr. Hyjin said honestly. Nira is extremely sick. Their ship is badly damaged. We might sacrifice everything we have and still fail to help them. Taemin nodded seriously. You're right, we might fail. But we're going to try our best anyway. Because it's the right thing to do. Because they desperately need help that only we can give. And because maybe this galaxy needs more beings who are willing to help others instead of just walking away when things get difficult. Over the next several hours, the Iron Resolve was transformed from a simple cargo ship into a rescue vessel. So Young moved equipment and materials to the damaged Villani ship. Dr. Hyjin set up a complete medical station and began experimental treatments for Nira's radiation poisoning. Dongho worked closely with Keth to understand Villani technology and culture. As they all worked together, Keth watched the humans with growing amazement. I have never seen any beings work so hard for complete strangers, he told Dongho. Is this normal behavior for your species? Dongho thought carefully about the question. I don't know if it's normal for all humans, but it feels right to us, and humans generally try to do what feels right, even when it's difficult and expensive. Even when it costs you greatly, especially then. Late that night, as the two crews worked side by side in the damaged alien ship, something wonderful happened. Nira opened her eyes for the first time in several days. Dr. Hyjin's medical treatments were actually working. The young Villani was still very sick, but she was definitely getting better instead of worse. Keth made the beautiful wind chime sound that meant pure joy and gratitude. Thank you, he said to all the humans working around him. We will never forget this incredible kindness you have shown us. Taemin smiled tiredly. Don't thank us yet, Keth. We still have many weeks of hard work ahead of us. Captain Taemin looked out at the endless darkness of space from his chair on the bridge. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the black sky. His ship, the Iron Resolve, moved through space like a whale swimming through a deep ocean. It was not the fastest ship in the human fleet, but it was strong and reliable, just like the man who commanded it. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. 3 other people worked at their stations around him. So Young sat at the engineering controls, her small hands moving quickly over the buttons and screens. She could fix any machine that broke, and she kept their old ship running perfectly. Dongho worked at the communications station, listening to radio signals from other ships. He was young but very smart, and he could speak 5 different alien languages. Dr. Hyjin checked the medical systems from her station near the back of the bridge. She was the ship's doctor and took care of anyone who got sick or hurt. They had been working together as a crew for 3 years now. Taemin trusted them completely, and they trusted him. It was a good team. Captain, we are still 3 days away from the next supply station, So Young said, checking her instruments. All our systems are working fine. No problems, Taemin nodded. This job was simple and boring, which was exactly what they needed. They were carrying machine parts to some mining colonies in Sector 8. After that, they would pick up processed metals and fly back to Earth. Nothing exciting, but the pay was good. They needed the money to keep their ship running and buy food and supplies. The Iron Resolve was getting old. The paint was scratched and faded. Some of the equipment made strange noises, but it was their home and they loved it despite its problems. It had carried them safely through many dangerous trips across the galaxy. Dong-ho suddenly looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm getting something weird on the radio." "What kind of weird?" Taemin asked, turning his chair to face the young communications officer. "It sounds like a distress signal, very weak and far away. Maybe 6 hours of travel if we change our route." Dong-ho pressed some buttons and frowned at his screen. "But it's not from a human ship. It's not from any alien ship I recognize either." So-young turned around in her chair. "A distress signal? Out here in the middle of empty space? Let me hear it," Taemin said. Dong-ho played the signal through the bridge speakers. Strange sounds filled the air. Some were high and sharp, others were low and deep. Some sounded like birds singing or wind blowing through trees. The sounds repeated in the same pattern every 30 seconds. Dr. Hyejin had heard the noise and came forward to listen. "That doesn't sound like any language I know," she said. "How long has it been playing?" Dong-ho checked his equipment. "It's hard to tell exactly, but I think it's been broadcasting for about 3 months. Maybe longer." 3 months? Dr. Hyejin looked shocked. "Someone has been calling for help for 3 whole months?" "It looks that way," Dong-ho said. He pressed more buttons and studied his screens. "I can see records from other ships that flew through this area. At least 12 different ships heard this signal in the past month. Ships from Earth, ships from human colonies, even some alien cargo haulers like us. And nobody stopped to help them?" So-young asked. "Nobody," Dong-ho confirmed. Taemin stood up and walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Space looked the same in every direction. Black emptiness with tiny points of light that were stars very far away. Somewhere out there in that darkness, someone had been calling for help for months, someone that everyone else had ignored. "Captain," So-young said carefully, "the company rules say we should not answer unknown alien distress calls. It could be dangerous. Maybe it's a trap set by space pirates." "I know what the rules say," Taemin replied without turning around. "And we have a schedule to keep," Dr. Hyejin added. "The mining colonies are waiting for these machine parts. If we're late delivering them, the company will be angry with us. We might lose money." Taemin understood all of this. He knew the rules about not helping unknown aliens. He knew they had a job to finish. He knew that stopping to investigate would cost them time and money they could not afford to lose. But he also knew that someone out there had been waiting for help for a very long time. Maybe they were already dead. Maybe it really was dangerous. Maybe it would ruin their business. But maybe someone desperately needed help. "Dong-ho, can you figure out exactly where that signal is coming from?" he asked. "Give me a few minutes to work on it," Dong-ho said. His fingers moved quickly over his controls like he was playing a piano. "Okay, I found it. There's a small object about 6 hours away if we fly at maximum speed. It's not moving much, just floating in space." "What kind of object?" "It looks like a spaceship. A small one, maybe about the size of a shuttle or a science research vessel." Taemin thought about the company rules. He thought about their delivery schedule. He thought about the money they would lose if they were late. Then he thought about floating alone in empty space for 3 months, sending out calls for help while ship after ship flew by without stopping. "So-young, how much extra fuel would it cost if we made a detour to check on this signal?" he asked. So-young did quick math in her head. "About 8 hours total travel time if we go look and then come back to our original route. That would use about 2,000 credits worth of fuel. And how much money do we lose if we're 8 hours late with our delivery?" "The contract has a penalty clause," Dr. Hyejin said. She handled all their business paperwork. 5,000 credits if we're late, 7,000 credits total. That was a lot of money for a small cargo ship like theirs. It would eat up most of the profit they expected to make from this job. They might not be able to pay for repairs to their ship or buy food for next month. "Captain," So-young said quietly, "whatever's out there has been broadcasting for months. If other ships haven't helped them by now, maybe there's a good reason why." Dr. Hyejin finished the thought. Taemin looked at his crew. They were smart, practical people. They were probably right to be worried. The sensible thing to do was keep flying, deliver their cargo on time, and let someone else worry about the mystery signal. But Taemin remembered his grandfather, who had worked as a rescue worker back on Earth before Taemin was born. His grandfather used to say that you could judge a person's character by what they did when it was difficult and cost them something, not by what they did when it was easy and profitable. Dong-ho, try to clean up that signal. See if you can learn anything about who's sending it, he ordered. Then he turned to So-young. Change our course. Take us to those coordinates. Sir? So-young looked surprised. You heard me. Someone has been calling for help for 3 months. We're going to answer their call. So-young nodded slowly and started programming the new course into the ship's navigation computer. The Iron Resolve began to turn and its engines hummed louder as they picked up speed. What if it really is dangerous? Dr. Hyojin asked with concern. Then we'll be very careful, but we're going to take a look. Taemin sat back down in his captain's chair. If it was our ship out there, I would want someone to answer our distress call. Dong-ho was working hard on the alien signal, trying different computer programs to make it clearer. Captain, I think I'm making progress. This signal, it's definitely a distress call. I can't understand the language, but the mathematical patterns are the same ones that any intelligent species would use. Someone is definitely asking for help. How can you be so sure? So-young asked. The way it repeats, the changes in tone that sound urgent, the way it broadcasts on multiple emergency radio frequencies. This is definitely someone in serious trouble. As the Iron Resolve changed direction and headed toward the unknown signal, Taemin wondered what they would find. Maybe nothing but empty space and broken equipment. Maybe real danger from space pirates or hostile aliens. Maybe someone who had been waiting alone in the darkness for months, hoping that someone somewhere would care enough to stop and help. In a few hours, he would find out which one it was. 6 hours later, the Iron Resolve found what they were looking for. There it is, So-young said, pointing at the main viewing screen. Small ship, maybe 60 meters long. It looks like it went through a terrible accident. The alien vessel floated in space like a broken toy. Most of its lights were dark and only a few weak emergency lights blinked on and off. Large sections of the hull were bent and twisted out of shape. One entire side looked like it had been torn open by some powerful force, then patched back together with whatever materials the crew could find. The ship spun slowly end over end, completely powerless and drifting. Are there any living beings inside? Taemin asked. Dr. Hyojin checked her medical scanning equipment. I'm reading 2 heat signatures inside the ship. Very faint, but they're alive. Whatever they are, they're weak and probably very sick. Dong-ho studied the alien ship's design on his computer screens. I've never seen anything like this before. The shape is very strange. All smooth curves and flowing lines. And look at these symbols painted on the hull. He pointed to strange markings that covered parts of the ship's surface. They looked like flowing water or wind patterns carved into metal. Is it still broadcasting the distress signal? Taemin asked. Yes, sir. The signal is coming from a small radio transmitter attached to the outside of the ship. It's probably running on emergency battery power that won't last much longer. Taemin moved closer to the viewing screen. The alien ship looked fragile and delicate, like it was built for peaceful exploration rather than fighting or war. So-young, can you tell what happened to them? So-young studied the damage patterns carefully. It looks like their engine exploded. Something went very wrong with their power systems. See those black scorch marks around the back section? I think their main engine had some kind of catastrophic failure. They've been drifting helplessly in space ever since. Can we help repair their ship? Maybe, but it would be very difficult. I'd have to learn how their alien technology works first. And Captain So-young looked worried. This is a completely unknown alien species. We don't know anything about them. What they look like, how they think, whether they might be dangerous to us. Dr. Hyojin nodded in agreement. We also don't know if our air is safe for them to breathe or if their air might poison us. We could accidentally kill them just by trying to help. Taemin understood their concerns completely. Making first contact with a new alien species was supposed to be handled by specially trained diplomats and scientists, not ordinary cargo ship captains. There were detailed procedures and safety protocols. Special equipment and expert teams were supposed to handle situations like this. But whoever was inside that broken ship had been waiting for help for 3 long months. Dong-ho, can you try to communicate with them? Taemin asked. I can try. Let me start with basic mathematical signals. Dong-ho began transmitting simple number patterns through their radio on basic math that any intelligent species should be able to understand. They waited in tense silence. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the alien ship's radio transmitter changed its signal. Instead of the repeating distress call, it began sending back number patterns. "They're answering," Dong Ho said with excitement. "Look at this. They're sending back the same mathematical equations, but they're adding new ones. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And now they're showing that 4 plus 4 equals 8. So they understand mathematics, and they know we're trying to talk to them," Taemin said with relief. For the next hour, Dong Ho worked patiently to establish basic communication with the aliens. Mathematics led to simple concepts like yes and no. Simple concepts led to basic words and ideas. The aliens seemed very eager to communicate with the humans. They sent over symbols, sounds, and pictures, and Dong Ho fed all the information into the ship's translation computer. Finally, they managed to exchange simple sentences. The first message from the aliens was heartbreaking. "Help, please, we are dying." The second message made everyone on the bridge stop and think. "Many ships detected us. All passed by. You stopped. Why did you stop?" Taemin thought carefully about how to answer that question. Why had they stopped when everyone else kept flying? "Tell them we heard their call for help," he instructed Dong Ho. Dong Ho translated the message and sent it to the alien ship. The response came back quickly. "We are called Villani. We study distant stars. Our engine failed. Food almost gone. My sister very sick." Dr. Hyojin leaned forward with interest. "There are 2 of them and 1 is sick?" More messages came from the alien ship over the next few minutes. Slowly, piece by piece, they learned the tragic story. The 2 aliens were named Keth and Nira. They were brother and sister, both scientists who studied distant stars and planets. Their small research ship had suffered a catastrophic engine failure 3 months ago, while they were far from any Villani worlds. They had been sending out distress calls ever since, hoping someone would help them. "Many ships detected our signals," came one translated message. 12 different species. All kept flying past us. "We thought all beings in galaxy were like this." "Like what?" Taemin asked Dong Ho to transmit. "They do not help strangers. They only care about themselves and their own kind. We prepared to die alone with dignity." So Young shook her head in disgust. 12 different ships just ignored them completely. What kind of heartless galaxy is this? More information came through the translation system over time. The Villani were apparently well known throughout the galaxy as peaceful researchers and record keepers. But they were also looked down upon by other species as weak and useless for trade or military purposes. Most other civilizations either ignored them completely or treated them with contempt. "We have small, weak bodies," one message explained sadly. "We cannot fight wars. We have no valuable materials to trade. We only study and learn and keep records. Other species think we are worthless." Dr. Hyojin's face showed clear anger. "They were left to die because they're not strong enough or wealthy enough to matter to anyone?" "What about the sister who is sick?" Taemin asked. The answer that came back was deeply troubling. Nira had been badly exposed to some kind of dangerous radiation when their engine exploded. She was getting weaker and sicker every day. Without proper medical treatment soon she would die. "Can we bring them aboard our ship?" Taemin asked Dr. Hyojin. "I would have to test whether our air supplies are compatible first, and we would need to set up proper quarantine procedures to make sure we don't accidentally spread diseases to each other." She paused thoughtfully. "Captain, this situation is far beyond what we're trained and equipped to handle. We're just a simple cargo ship, not a first contact team with proper diplomatic equipment." Taemin looked at the image of the damaged alien ship on the viewing screen. Inside that broken vessel were 2 intelligent beings who had been alone and dying for months, completely ignored by everyone who could have helped them. One was getting sicker while the other watched helplessly. "Dong Ho asked them if they can survive breathing the same type of air that we use," he said. The answer came back positive. The Villani breathed a very similar mixture of gases to humans. "Ask them if we can come aboard their ship to help them directly." Another positive response came back immediately. "So, Young, prepare one of our shuttles for launch. Dr. Hyojin, gather your medical supplies and anything you think might help treat radiation poisoning. Dong Ho, you're coming with us in case we need translation help." "Captain," So Young said quietly, "once we board their ship and see their technology and biology, we'll be fully committed to this rescue. We can't just walk away after that." Taemin nodded seriously. "I understand. And if word gets back to Earth Command that we made unauthorized first contact without following proper procedures, There could be severe consequences for all of us, I know that too. Then why are we doing this? Taman looked at his crew, people who had become like family to him over the years. Because it's the right thing to do. Because they asked for help and we have the ability to give it. And because maybe this galaxy needs more people who are willing to help the weak instead of just ignoring them. He stood up and headed toward the shuttle bay. Besides, they've been waiting 3 months for someone to care about them. I'm not going to make them wait any longer. As the human shuttle launched from the Iron Resolve and approached the damaged alien ship, Keth sent one final message that made everyone think, "We do not understand your kindness. Your species must be very different from others. Thank you for answering our call." Taman smiled as he read the translation. Different. Yes, maybe humans really were different from other species in the galaxy. Maybe that was a very good thing.